The people of the little town of North Branch celebrated Christmas as they did everything else, together. The community had long ago outgrown the schoolhouse as a scene for festivities, and the town hall was decorated for the occasion. Sarah Jane and Mabel joined the other ladies as they cleaned the big room in preparation for the evening. "I hear Zachary Burton has returned from Canada," Sarah Jane remarked. "Gladys is upset because he hired a farmhand while he was there. The man is on his way down now with all his worldly goods." "That doesn't sound like a tragedy," Mabel said. "Does Gladys think it's too close to the holidays?" "I expect she's annoyed because he didn't consult with her before he did it," Sarah Jane replied. "I also expect we'll hear more than we want to know about the whole affair before it fades out." She was so right. In the next few days, Gladys made her rounds by sleigh and by telephone to express her displeasure. "I told him he could have found someone right around here to work the farm. He didn't have to go way off up north to get a man." "The men around here get logging jobs, Gladys," Mabel said to her. "You can't get anyone but a schoolboy to work on a farm." "Zachary's been talking to you too, huh?" Gladys snorted. "I could find a hired man if I set out to." The weeks before Christmas, Mabel arrived early at Sarah Jane's to fill the bags of candy and nuts that would be handed out by Santa at the program, along with the gifts each family brought for exchange. Before she could shake the snow off her boots and remove her scarf, Mabel could see that Sarah Jane was bursting with news. "I would have called you, but I wanted to see your face when I told you." "What am I going to look like? Sad? Happy? Excited?" Mabel asked. "Unbelieving and horrified," Sarah Jane chortled. "You don't look too horrified," Mabel said. "What does this great news have to do with me?" "Not just you. I think this will take in the whole town." "Let's hear it," Mabel said with a sigh, "as long as I don't have to take care of it alone." "The Burtons' hired man arrived last night." "Is that all? We've been expecting him for days." "Zachary didn't exactly reveal the whole story when he said he had a farmhand," Sarah Jane said. "The man brought a wife." "Oh, well, maybe she can help Gladys in the house. They have lots of room." "Not that much," Sarah Jane declared. "They have 11 children." "11 children! Sarah Jane, you are making this up." "And they don't speak English." Mabel sat down at the table and stared at her friend. "What, then?" "French. And we all know how much French Gladys speaks. You look suitably horrified, all right." "What is that poor woman doing?" Mabel gasped. "How is she feeding them? We've got to do something." "You're right," Sarah Jane said briskly. "Let's get this job done as fast as we can and make plans." While Sarah Jane set pans of rolls to bake, Mabel called all the ladies she could reach. "We need quilts, dishes, clothing, and food," she told them. "With that many children, you don't have to bother about sizes. Anything will fit someone." "I know we have to go over there," Sarah Jane said, "but I want you to know that I'm not looking forward to it. We'll probably find that Zachary has had to move to the barn. What in the world will Gladys do with that many children?" By the time the sleigh was loaded, Mabel and Sarah Jane had a pretty good collection from their 2 houses. They drove around to the back of the Burtons and went into the kitchen, where they found Gladys standing at the stove, stirring a huge pot of cornmeal mush. She looked at them bleakly. "Well, Gladys, how—" "Don't even ask," she snapped. "Where is everybody?" Sarah Jane ventured. "Most of the children are out in the barn," Gladys replied, "and I sent that poor little wisp of a woman upstairs to lie down with the rest of 'em. She's been up since daylight scrubbing floors and clothes and young ones." Gladys pushed the pot to the back of the stove and sat down. "We'll find a place to store them all until the house out back is ready," she said. "What worries me is Christmas. Day after tomorrow is the tree celebration, and how are we going to get something for every child? They got here with the clothes on their back and not much else. Zachary says they had to sell all their household goods to pay for the trip. We'll have to think of some way to find toys for them." "We'll get on the telephone," Sarah Jane declared. "If we call everyone who will be at the Christmas program, we'll certainly get some ideas. And Gladys, the ladies will be bringing food and clothes over to help out." The evening of the big program was cold and frosty, and people began arriving early for the festivities. The center of attraction as they entered the hall was the Christmas tree. "Wow, that's got to be the biggest tree in Michigan," a little boy exclaimed. And indeed it may have been. The top brushed the ceiling of the building, and the branches filled the corner of the room. In addition to the decorations made by the children at school, each family had contributed something suitable to the occasion. Now, as everyone came forward and placed red and green packages in the branches and around the bottom, the whole thing presented a sight to behold. The Christmas story, complete with live animals surrounding the manger, was a program to remember. When the time came to distribute the gifts, Jerome Grayson, president of the school board, rose and faced the crowded room. "You all know that a new family has arrived this week to be with the Burtons. Even though the Martins may not have understood all that was said tonight, they are going to understand what we do. To begin with, the students at the school have voted to give every gift on the tree to the Martin family. They don't want the children to be without presents their first Christmas here. Secondly, the Board of Trustees has organized an all-town work day for tomorrow. Everyone who can possibly do so will gather at the big house in the morning to get it ready for the Martins to move into before Christmas. We will make any necessary repairs, paint and scrub and collect furniture from anyone who has something to spare. Any ladies who can provide dinner and supper for the workers will be welcome. If we have never felt the true spirit of Christmas before, we surely will this year." "Jerome never spoke a truer word," Sarah Jane groaned, as they sagged down in front of the fire the following evening. "Can you believe that those people are all moved in?" "I can," Mabel said. "I can also believe that we are tuckered out. But wasn't it worth it to see the expressions on their faces when they realized that the house was really theirs? I'll never forget how those children looked when the men moved the big tree into the living room and put all the packages back on it." Gladys forgave Zachary for the shock when she found out that Charles Martin had lost his last job and his home in Quebec. They would have been out on the street if Zachary hadn't offered to bring them here. Gladys might make a lot of noise about it, but she would never turn away anyone who was homeless. Sarah Jane rose and went to get her coat. "I'm glad that tomorrow is a designated day of rest," she said, "and if I ever said that there was nothing to see or do in a small town, I take it back. I've just seen it and done it."